meeting to order at this time. I would ask everyone to please rise, and we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance followed by a prayer given by Councilman Susan Meadows.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear God, thank you for this day. Thank you for this town of Boonville. Help us to work for the greater good of the people in our community, that it will continue to be a good place to live and raise our families. Amen.
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 Roll call.
Meadows,
Here.
Beach,
Here.
Hurt,
Here.
Livingston,
Here.
Ayers,
Here.
Dorman,
Here.
Young,
Here.
Evans.
Here.
Good. Thank you very much. I would like to welcome Vanessa. This is my first meeting since you've been on the council, so welcome.
Thank you. Welcome
Glad
you
to have
to me.
Thank you. It's good to be back
Yeah,
after a couple of
welcome back.
misses. Hearing of citizens' comments. It's at this time that anyone in the audience is welcome to come forward to the microphone and express their opinion on whatever they would like to talk about this evening. Doesn't look like we have any public comments this evening. Moving on, approval of the minutes of the April 20th, 2015 council meeting. You had those in your packet and had the weekend to look over those. Are there any additions or corrections to those? Hearing none, they will stand as presented. Consent items, we have none this evening. Presentation of accounts and claims. Teresa, when you're ready, if you would please read that.
Ordinance appropriating money. Be it ordained by the council of the city of Boonville as follows. Section 1, for the purpose of paying salaries and various accounts against the city of Boonville which have been allowed by the council at the regular meeting thereof on May 4th, 2015, the sum of $570,093.09. General fund, $243,276.48. Sanitation, $27,620.97. CIP tax, $34,616.61. Waterworks, $154,273.69. Capital projects, $531.22. Wastewater, $53,574.77. Tourism, $5,865.25. Gaming, $50,334.10. Parks and Water, $0.00. Section 2, the bookkeeper is hereby authorized and instructed to draw checks on the respective city bank accounts in favor of the persons whose salaries and accounts have been allowed as above, amounting to $570,093.09, being the total of money above appropriated. Section 3, this ordinance shall take effect and be enforced from and after its passage. First reading on May 4th, 2015. Read the second time this 4th day of May 2015, since a copy was made available prior to the meeting.
Second reading, title only.
Ordinance appropriating money.
Mark?
Mayor, I move we approve this ordinance.
Thank you very much. Do I have a second? Becky?
Second.
Becky seconds. Any questions or comments? Roll call.
Meadows,
Yes.
Beach,
Yes.
Hurt,
Yes.
Livingston.
Yes.
Ayers,
Yes.
Dorman.
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Evans.
Yes.
Unfinished business, we have none this evening, so we'll move along to new business. Item A, discuss disposition of lot at 724 4th Street.
Yeah, I just want to bring this to the council's attention. This is a lot that used to have a house on it that we acquired at a tax sale and went through a number of iterations afterwards trying to get title and so forth and so on, which we finally achieved. We've demolished the house, and so we've completed our mission. In the past, we've offered some of these for sale because this one we do have title to. More often than not, we don't have. We just have a lien. We don't have title, so we can't sell them. It just sits there. But this one we do. I don't think the city has a use for it. There's been one person express some interest in it. As far as private sector ownership, I have no idea what they would do with it. So I just want to get the council's thoughts on going forward with it and either recycling it back to the private sector or something else.
Steve?
Is it big enough to build a house back on? How big does it
I
have to
think
be?
it is.
I thought it had to be 45 or 50.
It's in what we call our overlay district. It was an ordinance that we brought forth, what's that, 3-4 years ago. And it's what we did that for was to be able to utilize some of these undersized lots. So with this lot, yes, it is undersized, but it could be built back up on. And there's a process that it has to go through. It has to go through a board of
Architectural review board?
Yeah, an architectural review board. So we kind of get something that goes back in there that kind of fits with the character of the neighborhood that's already there. You know, so we don't have some great big monstrosity built in the middle of, something, just where it doesn't fit in.
So how far do you have to be off the property line?
That's in an R3 zone, so that would take a 5-foot side yard
5 foot,
setback.
okay.
So you would be looking at a 32-foot width home, so is what you'd be.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Kari?
Could that be donated to Habitat for Humanity? Is something like that even
Yeah,
feasible?
There's some precedent for that. I think a house up on 6th Street somewhere.
Yeah, I know which one you mean. No, Steve's looking at me like I have two heads.
I don't know if they're building houses right now. I know they're remodeling a house. I don't know. I think I may have read that in our packet somewhere. So sometimes a construction of a house is, a big project. But that doesn't mean they wouldn't be interested in it, so.
I think the last permit that I sold as far as the new construction for the Habitat, and it's been like 5 years ago.
Wow.
So they have not
Yeah.
built any new structures in at least the last 5 years that I can think of just off the top of my head.
Yeah, I think they're doing some rehab, which
Yeah.
is good.
Yes.
Very
yes,
good.
That they are, so.
Uh-huh. Ned, did you have a question?
I did. Our anticipation would be to get our costs out of it. Is that what you're looking for, Earl?
Well, that would be the goal, yeah.
Okay.
I would think we've got, what, 3 or 4 in it? Steve?
I know we had 4,200 in the demolition, so.
But I assume this is a sample legal ad and it hasn't been run?
Yes.
Okay.
It is not in there.
You're asking for bids for the property.
Yeah, that's how we would present it. We've done a couple of them before.
Right. How does the council feel about this?
We could
Give
set
it a
minimum
shot.
bid, I guess.
Yeah, I would
Lose
be
the price of
concerned
the
what's
ad,
going
that's
to
about
be,
it.
go in there.
You want to put a minimum on it? Is that what you're saying, Kari?
The
I didn't
price
hear
or? No, I'm not as worried about the what we sell it for. It'd be great to get our money back, but just what would be built there in terms of,
you. Steve, I think Steve wants to, could you come to the microphone so people at home can hear?
That zone is an R3, so whatever went back in, it'd have to be a residential
Residential,
structure.
yeah.
So, so that would, that pretty well protects us from what's going back in it.
And it has to pass the architectural review.
It has to pass the architectural review. Now, with that being an R3 zone, you do have the choice of a duplex or a multifamily, but with the width of that lot, you're looking at just a single family only, would pretty much, you'd be limited to that, so, just because the size of that lot would dictate that.
Is there alley access to that in the back?
I don't believe there is.
Doesn't look like it on
No,
this
I
map.
don't believe there is, Steve, so.
So what's your pleasure? Run an ad, run this ad and see what happens?
Yeah.
Any restrictions or just run an ad and see what kind of bids we get?
I just run an ad.
Okay? We'll run this ad and,
Yeah, good idea.
do I have a motion to, do so?
So moved.
Thank you, Ned. Second?
second,
Thank you, Kari. Any further comments?
Can we, look at going rates for lots and land, and, let's, don't take $5. I don't know how the process goes.
Yeah.
I mean,
Steve?
You'd probably be looking at 5,000 to 7,500 for a lot, wouldn't you, that size? I mean, I don't think you'd get much more than that.
Yeah,
I just want to make sure we get somewhere around current market value, but not just to take whatever bid comes.
Right.
We'll add a clause about being able to reject
Okay.
bids. We'll add that into it, so.
Okay. Roll call.
Meadows,
Yes?
Beach,
Yes.
Hurt,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Ayers,
Yes.
Dorman,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Item B, consider street closure and parking restriction request for the Heritage Day celebration. In your packet, pages 11 through 29 refer to the Heritage Days plans and what they request from us this evening. 28.
this is someone else's.
Oh, okay, 27. So, or 28, excuse me. Anyone have any questions? We have some folks here from the Heritage Days Committee that would be glad to answer any questions. I do have one question. I always ask this question every year. Are there any major changes this year from what you've done in the past? Okay, there are not, okay.
I move we approve.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second.
Becky?
That's a second.
Question I have is, I noted in here, there's a lot of knotted homes and notes put on the doors. Do you hear back from the people that you put notes on their doors?
Monica, could you come to the microphone? I'm sorry.
Not generally do we hear back.
Okay, and what time of day are they called upon?
They go a couple of different times.
A couple of different times, so it's not just a one-time shot, you
No.
give it a couple of
No,
tries?
someone from the committee actually goes, and then this year someone from the chamber office went another
Okay.
time to try to reach these folks. Sometimes they're home, they don't come to the door. But we always leave a note to make sure that they know. And then the Thursday before, we'll go by their area again, just to remind everybody. with
Okay,
a
and
note.
have you had any complaints after last year? Because I note the year before, there was some concern down on Fourth Street, I think about trash in yards and,
Well, I think last year, or the year before, it was the first time that we'd extended it down the west side of Spring Street. And so I think there was some concern at that time because the people weren't aware. But now, every year when they even see somebody from our committee walking on the street, they're like, oh yeah, we know you. And we know what's gonna go on. But we have some plans for trash this year to make sure that everything is aligned, extra dumpsters and everything.
But basically, it's in the same area it's
Yep.
been last year, and so people know that it's going to be happening, and it's an annual event.
Yep,
okay, thank you.
all right, you're welcome.
You know, I think that is a problem. It's hard to catch people at home, and a lot of times, people just don't come to the door. They really don't want to answer the door. Any other questions or concerns about their requests? Okay, roll call.
Meadows,
Yes?
Beach,
Yes.
Hurt,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Ayers,
Yes,
Dorman,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Heritage Days Committee. Item C, consider street closure and parking restriction request for St. Peter and Paul Home and School Field Day event. That was on page 29. And this is, I believe, the first time that they have asked for this. It's it's just during the day from 10 to 2. Anyone have any questions, or would they like to make the motion to approve this street closure?
So moved.
Thank you, Ned. Do I hear a second?
second.
Thank you, Becky. Questions, concerns? Roll call.
Meadows,
Yes?
Beach,
Yes.
Hurt,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Ayers,
Yes,
Dorman,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Item D, consider resolution R 2015-05 approving an agreement with Aplex Inc. for concrete street repairs 2015.
A resolution of the City of Boonville, Missouri, authorizing and approving an agreement between Aplex Incorporated and the City of Boonville, Missouri pertaining to concrete street repairs 2015 and providing an effective date therefor. Whereas the City of Boonville has solicited and received bids for this project and determined that Aplex Incorporated represents the best bid pursuant to the purchasing code set forth in Section 2-20 of the City of Boonville Code of Ordinances. Therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Boonville, Missouri as follows. Section 1, that a certain agreement between Aplex Incorporated and the City of Boonville, Missouri relating to the concrete street repairs 2015, a copy of which is marked Exhibit A and is attached hereto and made a part hereof, is hereby approved. Section 2, that the city administrator and the city clerk are hereby authorized to execute and attest said agreement on behalf of the City of Boonville. Section 3, this resolution shall take effect and be in full force from and after its passage and approval. Passed this 4th day of May 2015 by the City Council of Boonville, Missouri.
Do I hear a motion? Mark?
Mayor, I move we approve this resolution.
Do I hear a second?
A second.
Thank you, Susan. Any questions or comments? Okay. Scott, I think, are there some things you'd like to visit with us about this? We only received one bid, and it was a little higher than what we've been seeing, maybe.
Yeah, there was a lack of interest in this project this year. There was a lot of work out there, concrete street work out there, and so we did our due diligence in calling contractors, notifying them, and we got Aplex to bid on the project itself. They came in a little high, and I think Earl is going to reduce the scope of work in order to bring it back into budget.
Okay. Any questions for Scott on this?
And you visited with Aplex about the fact of
Yes.
reducing it?
Yes, I visited with Aplex about reducing it, and they are comfortable with that. They have no problem. Of course, they want to know exactly what scope's going to be reduced, but they want to get started May 18th. So they want to be on site. They're going to work for roughly a month and a half, then they're going to have to jump off and finish a job in Columbia, and then they'll be back in August to finish the rest of the work with a plan.
Okay. What are you hoping to reduce it to?
Well, we're going to have a meeting on that in the morning, actually, to go through it piece by piece, because the other variable is we have getting ready to bid the slurry seal and the seals, so that's the other part of the budget that I don't know a number yet. So, but I would guess I reduce it about $100,000.
Okay.
Because it's they're over Scott's estimate, but Scott's estimate's probably more than I'm comfortable with too. So,
Why are all the concrete people not bidding on things right now?
We checked plan houses, and there is I think there was 7 projects out for bid, all concrete streets, all at the same time.
Oh, busy.
So it made for a very hard bidding atmosphere.
So waiting too late last year maybe worked in our advantage.
It may have, but the weather didn't cooperate.
Right,
It
yeah.
makes it very hard to pour concrete in that kind of weather.
Right.
So
Okay. Thank you, Scott.
Do they have an end date that they know of?
yeah, we've got 120-day calendar days for the project. So that's
Just
our
wondering
due.
about school starting and if it will be done.
Uh,
Wondering if it will be done by the time school starts, because that's,
Probably not.
no.
No. The second phase, which they're looking at doing, some of the major street parts will be in August.
Any other questions?
So is up by the high school part of this? And-
No, this is a totally separate
Okay.
project. That project, we go to pre-construction on the Locust Street project with MoDOT, that's MoDOT funded, and we're going to have the pre-construction probably next week.
Okay.
So when will they probably be starting? When does school get out?
I got to check with the school, find out exactly when they are,
Uh-huh.
but that's the date we're given the notice to proceed,
Okay,
on the date that school's out.
okay. Any other questions for Scott? So we have a first and second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Meadows,
Yes.
Beach,
Yes?
Hurt,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Ayers,
Yes.
Dorman,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Evans.
Yes.
Reports of standing committees, Parks Board, Steve?
I was unable to make the meeting, but the meeting, minutes are in your package, and if you have any questions, I'll defer to Gary.
Okay. Yeah.
This is part, may just be confusion, Mayor, but the section in the minutes about the master plan, I found to be a bit frustrating, and I couldn't remember if this master plan was going to include the Hale Ridge project. It doesn't?
No, it does not. This is for Camper Park only.
So, and your board has handled the hard part about this. I mean, they've already objected to the short amount of time they're gonna spend in town and all of that, so I'm really tickled with your board for having done that, Gary. It makes me wonder again whether or not we should sit on this until we have some kind of clue on what's gonna happen with Hale Ridge, because that's part of the plan. It's part of what we've been talking about. But I'm not asking you to delay it or anything. I'm just wondering whether or not they'd be
I'm thinking
intelligent.
probably the Hale Ridge property ought to be a separate entity in its own. I'm not that familiar with what's going on out there yet. But what we had talked about and are considering doing, SKW is the same firm that did the Second Street Corridor Master Plan. And so I've brokered a deal with them to where they would just wrap around the corner and continue into Kemper Park. If they satisfy the board, they have a representative that will be here May the 19th for the park board meeting to answer these questions.
Okay.
If they satisfy the board, then we will proceed with what we need to do to get everything approved and kick this plan off.
That's the
But it's
19th, did you say?
May the 19th, yes, sir, 5:30 here.
Okay.
Okay.
That answers my question. Thank you, Mayor.
Of course, those meetings are open to the public and certainly anyone on the council. So if you'd like to attend that, find out more about it, you're welcome to. Item B, Street, Alley, and Sanitation Board. Kari.
Well, we didn't have an official meeting, but we had Sherry Broyles there to make comments about Spring Street, just the amount of vehicles and the blind corner. So that's basically all we talked about, and then notes are in the packet.
Okay, any questions for Kari? Reports of city officials, city administrator, Earl.
As you know, the council authorized to move forward on a new code enforcement initiative a couple months ago. We got some money in the budget for that, which is now passed, so we're beginning the implementation phase. And I think I'll let Kate update you on that. And then, as you know, part of that was the grease in the sewers, fog. That's oil and grease, and Tim will update you on that. We've started both of them, but we're still very much in a fledgling state. So, Kate?
We talked about, sort of the idea was we were going to take a ward-by-ward approach on property maintenance. That was the kind of the thrust that came out of the committee. And since that time, Steve and I have completed what we've termed the WOW, worst of worst list, so it's not a good WOW to be on there, and have done the entire city. So we have approximately 140 properties that we just, they're the worst of the worst. And it's our subjective decision, so I guess someone could argue them, but I think they're probably pretty universal. We then decided that we were going to take sort of ward by ward, Ward 1 this year, Ward 2 next year, and so forth, to just sort of in terms of what we as a staff are capable of doing. We were going to do a property by property inspection, but I think as Steve and I drove around, reality set in that that's probably not nearly feasible. And also, within each ward, you had so many homes in and of itself that if we could just deal with those, that would be a pretty good accomplishment in and of itself. So we're just focusing on Ward 1. To give you an example, we have 40 properties on Ward 1 that were on the worst of the worst list. And we are about 2/3 of the way through. We're going to finish up tomorrow. And then we haven't totally drafted what that property maintenance letter is going to look like. I assume it will look like very similar to many of our other code enforcement letters, which you guys have probably been carbon copied on at some point in time, identifying what the issues are, the corrective action required, and then how long you have to fix the issue. The question, just like when you're dealing with derelict housing, is some of these things are significant repairs, and people may not always have the money, so being flexible enough to give people the room to make those necessary repairs in fair time. So I don't know really what that's going to look like, but we're trying to be reasonable and flexible, and we'll find out when we start doing that. We did also have some money in the budget to hire someone part-time. She started today, Paula Renfro. Some of you may know her. She has experience with title work, so that's one thing that was very attractive to us. She's going to be able to help Steve with some of the derelict building title search, hopefully, as well. And she also, you may know that when Mary was here, she did all the paperwork for Steve. In the big shuffle, Teresa's not doing that, so Paula is going to take that over. So she's going to do all the paperwork in the back office for his derelict housing process as well. So, so that process is moving forward, and then the other sort of big investment was the software updates, just in terms of making us more efficient and better at managing and tracking our issues. We're a little bit behind on that, but I think ultimately it's going to be better because now Paula is going to be in on the building of the software, so she'll get the training from the ground up, so she'll have a really good sense for how to do it. And we're also moving Steve's derelict housing onto the system as well. So we're going to do property maintenance and derelict housing will all be tracked online. And I'll just say that it has made a huge difference. I looked today, just before I came, so last year we started out in July, and this is on lawn mowing, so admittedly we have a lot of lawns that don't get mowed. But from July to January, we did 235 cases. So we're in May, and Glenn and I are already at case 104. So just to give you a sense of how many cases we're handling, it has dramatically increased. I think Glenn would probably tell you we tripled the lawns we mowed, so. He likes it, but he doesn't like it on certain days, along with the changes to the ordinances that we've made. So I think having the software will really help, and it will free up both Tim, because Paula's going to do the fog maintenance, and Steve to sort of just do the inspections, but she's going to be able to do all the backroom stuff. Any questions?
So when you talk about 40 houses in Ward 1, these are houses with structural issues?
Some of them are on what probably will ultimately be the derelict housing list. There are certain ones that we've noted, but other ones, they're not there yet, but frankly, anywhere from 2 to 4 years, they would be there, maybe 6 months, maybe. So they're just the ones that most stand out. So when you're driving down a block, and you probably can all pick any street in town that you want to imagine, and you're like, whoa, that house does not look so good. So we basically took an exterior maintenance inspection sheet that we did when we did our test, when we did the pilot. We've taken that, and then we've just taken more comprehensive notes about what needs to be done to fix it, and then that's going to get fed into an inspection report.
Do you know approximately how many of these homes are lived in by the owner, or are they rental property?
What I have done so far is an inexact science, but we basically, I just look on GS at this point in time, and Steve and I actually just talked about this today. If you're doing a derelict housing, you always do a title search, and And I think we've kind of thought that to start with, we probably won't do that. We'll just rely on GIS just because it's about anywhere from $50 to $75 for a title search. So I hate to do that for every property, particularly if GIS is correct. Some of them we know because the owners are deceased, and other people will say, oh, that guy died like 5 years ago, so you try to figure out, and if there's no water count on it, then you might think it's vacant. If your property owner and the owner address don't match, I assume it's either a rental or vacant. And then we can always check water counts to see if they're current. So that's the best we have right now, but it's not perfect.
We also have the opportunity to collaborate with the county and the assessor's office. So that sometimes is a backup for us too.
Yeah.
Where the taxes or bill is going.
Any other questions for Kate? Okay, Tim? By the way, when she talked about fog, that's fats, oils, and grease. Everybody else probably gets that, but.
Okay, we started our fire inspections early this year so we could get around and make a list of who we thought needed fat, oil, and grease devices or who had them. So we were ready to pretty well go when Earl and Kate said, yeah, we're ready to implement it. So we came up with 38 businesses or institutions that we thought required them, and 10 of those did not have any type of a grease trap or an interceptor. So we did those and gave them all 60 days to get a device in place, and I've already had a call on one that was installed, and I re-inspected it, and I know of at least 3 or 4 of the others that different plumbers have given me calls that they were contacted by so-and-so and that they kind of wanted an idea of what the city was looking for. Out of the 30 that I've done, 17 were satisfactory, 3 were unsatisfactory, with 2 out of the 3 actually cleaning their grease traps and calling me that afternoon. I went back out and inspected them. The way we're planning on doing it is if they have a grease trap, those are done once a year, inspected. If they have an interceptor, those are done twice a year, because the theory is that if a grease trap gets too full, they're going to know it because it's going to back up their sink. But the interceptor is more of an outside-based unit that it's just going to cause us problems down in our sewer lines. So, but I have seen 2 of the grease traps that were, I don't know where the water was going from one end to the other because they were solid inside. They must have had a little tunnel or something that the water just kept working its way through. But and then the schools, we're waiting till school's out here in the middle of the month, and we're going to do those because it can add quite a bit of odor to a building. And Dr. Ficken had just asked if I didn't mind doing those right after school. I said, yeah, that's no problem at all. But I just want to see them before they get a chance to clean them after school, so I see what those are like also. But all the businesses have been pretty receptive. There's been a couple that, weren't real happy about doing it, but they still understood the need for it after I gave them some literature on it. And any new businesses coming in, they'll just automatically be required to, if they deal in fats and greases, it'll be a building code, it's in the building code. The new restaurant that just opened down on Main Street, he put a grease trap in right off the bat, so. I've talked to Bernita. She told me a couple of the areas that they have, suspect some problems, and I found that to be true on one of them that was unsatisfactory, so maybe we can help that one manhole anyway, so.
Any questions for Tim?
Any questions about fats, oils, and greases?
Thanks, Tim. Earl, did you have anything else?
Yeah, I just wanted to make note of another project, the Ginrich Building. We've done a couple of small projects over the last 2 to 3 years, and we're working on another one that seems to be coming together pretty well now, and so you may start to hear something about it, but we'll give you an update on that as to the scope and so forth at the next council meeting.
Okay. Mayor, committee appointments. I put a sheet of, with a list of some names on it. Those are the rest of the appointments for the committees, and you need to approve those or not approve those if you prefer, but I would ask for a nomination. Mark?
Mayor, I move we approve these appointments.
Thank you. Do I hear a second? Thanks, Becky. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Meadows?
Yes.
Beach?
Yes.
Hurt?
Yes.
Livingston?
Yes.
Ayers?
Yes.
Dorman?
Yes.
Young?
Yes.
Evans?
Yes.
City Councilor, Megan, do you have anything?
Yes, I just have a brief update this evening to let you know the annexation on the Highway 87 corridor did become final on April 24th. I appreciate all the help of Teresa. Last week, we had probably close to 100 notifications to all the property owners, the businesses, the governmental and private agencies. They have all been notified, and we've actually received inquiries back from 5 or 6 folks on that. And we've started a to-do list or an assignment list, so we make sure that we follow up on a appropriate time frame to answer those questions. And it's primarily about sewer and sales tax, so, but it's going very well.
Very good. Economic Development, Jim is not here this evening. City Clerk, Teresa, do you have anything?
I don't have anything tonight.
Okay. Building Inspector, you have Steve's April report in your packet and had time to look that over. If anyone has any questions. Miscellaneous. Oh, yeah. Come to the microphone if you would, Steve. Steve, would you come to the microphone, please?
The 313, the Mize property, that is complete as of today. Everything is backfilled, seeded, strawed, and so those two on Morgan Street are complete, so.
Okay, very
Okay.
good.
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah, what's going on, I think we asked this last time, on the garage on 11th Street?
I spoke with the owner on that one day last week, and hopefully within the next week or two, that will be completed. So he is a farmer, he's been in the fields, and he was supposed to complete his planting towards the end of last week, so hopefully that is something he can get back on. If not, there's going to be a notification goes out to get that completed.
So what does completion mean? Are they tearing it?
They are tearing it down,
Just totally
yes.
done.
Yeah, they've decided to demo that, so.
How's your excuse me,
Go ahead.
okay. How's your communication working out with the Weaver, the Porter Street house? Tell the truth.
It's not. I've had no communication with him. He was slow on coming in, getting his permit, and since he's had his permit, I've had no communication with him since then. I've not been notified for any inspections or, so.
When is his 120 up?
I'm not sure. I've got it ticked on a calendar, but I can't, I'm thinking it's sometime in July, I believe, somewhere in there, so. Because I think we had those hearings in February, was that when we had those hearings? So,
Or March.
yeah.
We're about halfway there.
Yeah, so we're halfway through.
So what happens next if he doesn't meet his deadline?
I guess at that point, we can proceed with whatever we feel needs to be done, so.
More than likely, he comes back and pleads for mercy from you all.
And once more time, another 120 days.
Yeah, so.
Okay.
As we get, as we move through the wows and we begin to to work on further on the DDBs, at some point, we probably ought to talk about,
don't think it's a good topic for tonight, but sit down and talk about numbers. When we talk about 140 houses that need to be improved, and let's say that we find we've got 120 DDBs, we need to talk about how many we can process and how we can get that part of the system done so that they can happen somewhat more quickly instead of being 12 years doing this. But I don't think it's appropriate now because you haven't even finished your study. But at some point, we probably will need to do that. Thank you, Mayor.
I think the
Any
biggest
other-
part of that, it's going to all boil down to numbers. I
Yeah.
mean, we've just spent $26,000 on these two houses on Morgan Street.
Yeah.
So that's what it's going to boil down to is the numbers.
It's amazing.
So,
That's one reason it's taken us 10 years to get where we are, is because we only have so much money that we can spend along the way, so
yeah.
Well, of course,
have a lot of things to
that's one of the
keep in
reasons
mind.
we wanted to look at corridors too, to
Right.
focus on those.
Right.
So that may be where we come down,
Right.
Julie, as we focus on that. Anyway, good topic.
Okay, miscellaneous. Any miscellaneous this evening? Gary?
I want to ask for the community's help. If you noticed in my monthly report where I talked about how we had thoroughly scrubbed and disinfected the restroom at Lions Park prior to opening it up, and that we'd actually made it for 2.5 weeks before we had any vandalism. Since I typed this up, and Teresa put it in your packets, last week we had 2 incidents within 3 days. Both times someone removed the lid from the toilet tank and ripped the guts out of it. The guys go down there in the morning, the water's running out the front door. That happened probably last Tuesday evening. We made the repairs on Wednesday morning. It made it through Wednesday night, but then Thursday night, someone did the same thing. Same toilet, took the lid off, set it down on the floor, reached in and tore the flush mechanism completely out of the tank. What we did Friday, because we didn't have time to make repairs, we didn't have any ball games, we didn't have any shelter house reservations at Lions Park this weekend, we locked them down. They stayed locked down until about 3 o'clock this afternoon when Mark and his crew went over there and marked the ball field. They cleaned the restrooms. Pat went over, put all the pieces and parts back in. Tomorrow morning at 7:30, we're locking them again. We will not open them again until 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Unfortunately, part of the vandalism, the trouble that we're having is happening between when we open them and 6 o'clock or 6:30 or 7 o'clock in the evening. And we have no real control over that, and we can't keep the restrooms locked because the 8 and 10U girls softball leagues are playing over there 4 nights a week. But I guess I'm putting out a plea to the community to see if they can help us police this and kind of keep an eye on what's going on. You go back, I went back and reviewed the security camera footage. I can see people coming and going out of the restrooms, but I can't, the cameras are too far away. I can't tell what's going on, and quite frankly, I don't have time to sit there and watch 48 hours worth of video. But if the community can help us to police this and maybe keep a handle on it, otherwise I'm going to be forced to take some kind of drastic measure, cancel shelter house reservations, refund people's reservation money, and come up with an alternative method for restroom facilities for the girls softball league. And I'm going to lock them down permanently if this doesn't stop. I've been very hesitant to do this. I've Had to listen to my employees complain, and justifiably so, because they're going down here every other day and making some major repairs. But it's kind of gotten to the point where my $500 vandalism repair account in my budget isn't going to last me until the 1st of June at the rate we're going. So, you know, that's where we are. If you start getting complaints from constituents or somebody that's complaining because they take their kids over there and the bathrooms are locked up, that's why. And so if we can get a handle on this, I had a Save the Skate Park meeting here about 5 years ago, and I threatened to take out the skate park. And that actually helped for about 6 months. Maybe I need to do one of those again. Maybe I just need to go down there with a socket set and start dismantling equipment. I don't know, but we need to get a handle on it somehow. I really don't want to do it. I don't blame the skaters for the problem. It's not the skaters. It's the kids that come down there and hang out with the skaters. They're the ones that are doing all the damage. So.
And you're not getting hit in the other parks?
We're not getting hit in any of the parks.
Yeah.
We did have some vandalism at McKemper last year, and that's gone away. But this is happening in broad daylight.
It's after school, too.
Yeah, exactly. Between 3 and, I'm estimating that the majority of our damage is happening between 3 and 6 p.m.
Yep, that's when there's tons of kids over there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's hard to distinguish between those kids. I mean,
Yeah,
watching them,
absolutely.
some of them are great
I
kids, and
can't-
some of them are probably not, but you can't, looking at them, you don't know.
And we, the last case we were able to prosecute off the security cameras was the destruction of a picnic table. And they've since learned that our camera goes in, but halfway through the shelter house, we lose a line of sight.
Mhm.
So they go to the back of the shelter house and do their mischief, or they go in the restrooms. So we're working on some options. We're not going to put cameras in the bathrooms, but we're working on some options.
Gary?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there any way that police or someone could lock and unlock the buildings, like just during that time?
I used to have a swing shift. For years, we had a swing shift that I took one of the seasonal people, basically the ball crew, Mark's crew, and they were assigned to swing shift for a 1 week period. And they would come in at 1, and then they would stay working the parks until all the ball games were over. They would lock the restrooms. Mm-hmm. I don't have that swing shift anymore. It's something that I can talk to Chief Welliver about, but knowing his workload and what they've got going on, I don't know if it's really fair to ask them to go over and lock the restrooms. I've thought once about giving Kathy Howard a key to the restrooms and asking her to lock them when they leave in the evening. But then again, I don't know if that's really
But you said
fair
it's
to
not going on in the evening. It's not going on at dark.
It's going on, sometimes it's going on during the games. But if we would ask her to lock them down, after their games are over. But I don't know if I really want to ask her to take on that responsibility. I don't know. I'm kind of at the point where the frustration level is hit about here, and I don't know what to do next, other than just put a big padlock on them and walk away.
I was wondering if the police could patrol a little heavier during those times, but if they're going inside the bathroom and doing that, you don't know what's going on in there. I mean, you can't.
Yeah.
I don't know how you know what's going on inside.
I don't know. But like I said, Jeremy and I have discussed a couple of options that might give us a little bit more information to go on.
Okay.
So we're working on that.
Parents and grandparents, too, may be an opportunity. Because I'll sit over there several afternoons a week, when Lucinda's got ball games and with Cal. And there are very few adults there, very few. But there are, 3, 4, 5, moms or dads or grandmas or grandpas over there too. That may be an opportunity.
And the unfortunate thing is, most of the cases that we have solved, the police department's been able to make apprehensions on, they're juveniles between 10 and 12 years old, 10, 13 years old.
Yeah.
What do you do with it?
Yeah.
We did have one 15-year-old caught one time, and the juvenile officer of the court assigned him to public service and made him call me. And we took him back down there with a couple of paint rollers and a couple gallons of paint and made him repaint the interior of the bathrooms.
Yeah. Good.
And I've not seen his name appear on anything lately. So,
Works.
I don't know.
Okay, thank you for the information, Gary. Any other miscellaneous? If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So, move.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Kari seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.